Welcome to Conversation with Tony Mobley. On Conversation with Tony Mobley, I am talking to Mr. Jeffrey Powers, and we are talking about AI, music creation, and more. He is an experienced YouTuber, video editor, podcaster, and musician. He is responsible for Conversation with Tony Mobley brand channel on YouTube and also the Miracle Bible Way Church of Christ brand channel. Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey Powers. This is episode 7 of Conversation with Tony Mobley. We are back. Thanks to everyone for being a part of our new journey and powered by Mimo Live. We also want to thank everyone who was a part of the old infrastructure. I want to thank the team behind Conversation with Tony Mobley for all of your hard work. Conversation with Tony Mobley can be viewed on YouTube and conversationwithtonymobley.com. Please register for our interactive chat. It's called Mukana and it's courtesy of Alex Lindsay 090. For the Mukana chat, you have the option of asking questions, and those questions can be voted up and down. That's right. And we ask that you go to conversationwithtonymobley.com where you will be able to view past conversations. And so now we're going to get to it, and we're going to be talking about AI music creation. Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey Powers, for being here.
How you doing, Tony? It's been a while.
Yes, sir, it has been a while. Looking forward to having a conversation with you today, and we're going to get right to it. And the very first question for those who don't know who you are, who is Jeffrey Powers?
That is a good question. I will have to ask somebody that knows that answer. Um, the reality is I'm just a guy that does a show in the interwebs. Uh, Live in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm born and raised. I started podcast. I was an IT administrator for many, many years. And then one day I wasn't, and I wanted to do something else. And I started doing podcasting. This was during the golden age of podcasting. And yeah, there was a golden age of podcasting, which is actually 20 years old now. Actually,
Wow.
technically 21, but 20 for the mainstreamers, this is about 20 years since podcasting actually graced across the airwaves. Um, so I joined the original group. It wasn't really a tech podcast at the point. It was a music podcast where there was another website called garageband.com, if anybody remembers that. And what that is a it was just basically a site that had a whole bunch of bands that weren't signed to any labels. They were putting up their music. So I decided to do a podcast on their music and try to talk to them and stuff like that. And it went for about a year until all of a sudden copyright issues started to creep in. People were getting licenses for their songs, and so it was getting tougher and tougher to actually highlight new songs from this group. And of course, GarageBand was not doing too well. It ultimately got shut down. Um, so I decided, well, I'll just go and talk about tech. So that's then 2007, I decided to create a podcast, which October, actually, in about, was it 5 days, I did the first episode of, wasn't called Geekazine at the time, it was just called The Show. And then on November 7th, that's when the first episode, branded episode of Geekazine podcast came out. Since then, I've grown away from the audio podcast more towards the video and the live stream and things like that. So here we are now, was it 17 years later, and I'm still doing it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And
Yeah.
so our next question is, let's talk about please give us an overview of your professional work.
My professional work.
Like in terms of, well, I really want to get at Your musician
Oh,
professional work.
okay. Well, because this is my profession. This is what I do. Um, so yeah, I'm also a musician. That is correct. I don't, and yeah, I suppose I get paid, so I am a professional. So, as a musician, I've been in a local band for actually just as many years as this last band. We've been playing just as long as I've had Geekazine, but I've been playing in bands since the 90s and different bands, local stuff, cover music type stuff, Friday night to pay the bills type things or to buy the beer, however you look at it. And yeah, I've also worked in the music aspect into the tech aspect because they are merging. In fact, a lot of things merged together back in what 2015 when mixing consoles could be hooked up to the internet and all of a sudden you could save scenes and you could do this and that digitally, actually even before 2015. um, so when the intersection happened, it was just a happy accident. So I started going to NAM shows, which is a conference called the North American Music Merchants. At the time, you couldn't get in as a regular person, so I went in as press, and I did interviews just like I did at CES, and I did that for a while. I still do. In fact, I just looked at a new product that came out. It's actually a pretty cool product. Um, it's a mixing console from M Audio called B-Beat, I believe. And what it is you can put in tracks and you can put in lyrics and you can put in video. And then you can have musicians play to tracks. They can play to a click track. You can bring up the lyrics. So if we put it into like a house of worship type situation, the band could then keep in time while the lyrics went up on the screen so everybody could sing along with the band,
That sounds
which is
good.
pretty cool.
What's
Yeah,
the cost on that?
that's a good question. I don't know that answer.
Okay.
So,
All right. We're going to go to our next question. How many music apps have you embraced? Any AI applications?
none. That's why we're here today, right? To talk
that's why that's why we're here.
exactly. So, and I didn't realize it, but I was introduced to Suno at its infancy, which is one of the main primary names that have creeped out from the AI audio space. Um, and I was fairly impressed, but not impressed because at that time it could only do like 20 seconds. It was very compressed. It was very digital, and the voices weren't really that great. But then, like a couple of years later, I find this program called Suno. It's like, hey, I like the AI music that's coming from here. It's not perfect, but if I wanted to make background music for the podcast, this would work. And then I realized it was the same company, and it's like, oh wow, they've really grown from there. There's a lot of companies out there that are embracing AI. In fact, I have a friend, and he told me this back in 2018 that they were working on an AI algorithm that would take images. So you'd take, like, let's say the Mona Lisa, and you'd put it up and you'd scan it into the computer. And then what it would do is it would actually take and create music from there. I'm not exactly sure how far he's gotten from that, and I haven't talked to him in a while, but I, I wouldn't be surprised if they're working on it to kind of change the landscape of music, because that it right now it is in a very interesting gold rush. And the only problem is they have this really big hill called digital rights, copyrights, that they have to work around before they can get to the gold.
Okay. Let's get to some of the music if you don't mind.
Okay, so if you haven't played around with the with this type of system out here. There's a couple different websites I'm going to show you that what you can do with this, and we'll go over to the screen here. The first one we're going to talk about is called Suno. Now, Suno, like I said, I've known it the longest. Basically, what it is the ability to create a song, and you could do anything from, you can make it very simple. We'll go to the simple plan here, where you can just say, hey, I want, let's say, a gospel song about, having fun and praising or anything like that. You just basically put it into the song description right there, hit create, and then it creates two versions of that song for you. It's fairly unreal, close to real time. So within like 20 seconds, we could start hearing that song. And then within about 5 minutes, you could actually get to something that you could download and post out from there. But of course, with Suno, with AI creation, we want to do more. We want to be able to put in our own lyrics. And this is the one thing that really interested me with doing AI, because I'm more of a songwriter than anything else. And I used to, I still compete in this thing called FOM, which is called February Album Writing
Hey,
Month.
Jeffrey, are you
Yeah,
sharing the screen? Are you
it's on
sharing?
the other screen.
It's
Are
on
we
the
not
other
sharing it?
screen. Okay.
Tell me when
Go
you're
go
ready.
ahead. Go ahead.
Okay.
We're good. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Anyway, so where was I? I was oh yeah, so February album writing month. So and I've competed, I've participated. It's not a competition. I've participated in that since I think it was 2009. It started in 2006 or 2007 by a good friend of mine. And the challenge was to write 14 songs in 28 days. It never really had a musical component to it. It was all about just writing lyrics, creating songs, just the lyrics of the songs. But everybody took it to the next level, and they wrote the lyrics and then they created the songs. Well, that's where I always stumbled on that, because it's like, I want to create the lyrics. I can do that, but putting it into the song is a little bit tougher for me. But, we didn't have anything like this at that time, so I just kind of put along and I created some uh, that songs that I really enjoy when I go to play them. But then all of a sudden, AI comes into play, and which is great, because not only will it creates lyrics for you, but you can put your own lyrics in and see what it creates from that. And that's what really intrigues me about uh, this Suno, Udio, and all these other ones that I'll be talking about here. Uh, is you can use it as a reference more than I'm going to create music to put on the interwebs. And a lot of musicians, I think, are also using it this way. So, because the bottom line is, musicians want to perform, they want to get out there, they want to get in front of their crowds, they want to sing a song that sparks an emotion, and going through an AI bot just isn't going to cut it. But if you have somebody being your muse to create something that you like, then all of a sudden that changes the game a lot, and you can start doing a little bit more creativeness, because it's no different than a record company. They listen to an artist, they listen to a song and the artist, and they have a team of people that are going, it would be better if you switch those two words, or it would be better if the music was a little bit more poppy than lower end, or things like that.
Right.
So
Yes.
with that, you have that ability to kind of play with the ideas that are being expressed to you. And then you can turn around and then you can create from there. In fact, there are a couple songs that I've already put into stuff where I can play on the guitar, and it doesn't sound exactly like the song that is right here, but it's something I can add into my set list, which is what I find really intriguing about this. Now, a lot of people are also using this to further their careers. I know Spotify is already bringing AI music into play, and some of these other big ones. If you go on YouTube and you go to these lo-fi beats, or you go to these theta deep thoughts, trying to relax and get away from the world. A lot of the stuff is AI driven, and they get a lot of people that watch or sleep to that type of music, and they end up making a lot of money off of it. So there is a definite advantage and possible ability to make money from there.
I'm curious. What instruments do you play? I heard you say guitar, but I also know that you play drums.
Yes. So I did go to college as a music major. So I have experience with a lot of different instruments. I've always said if you give me an instrument in 2 weeks, I could play something basic. Don't expect me to do the lead solo in some orchestral piece or anything like that. But if you need like a second or third chair, I could probably sit in and play the music. So
Okay. All right. I think we're ready for some music.
okay, so uh, I did this. First of all, I'm gonna here do this really quick. Let's go like that. Boom.
And
I
I
want to show you.
and while you're setting up, I'm just going to share a little story. So, the
Oh,
reason why part of the reason why I asked Jeffrey to be on with me was because he was doing actual unboxing of a new iPhone, and in that unboxing, he was actually playing music, AI music, and that was part of his unboxing, and so it was pretty cool. And um, he was he was using was it open the box, in the
yeah.
box?
Let me show you really quick.
Okay,
So when you in creating, sometimes in creating, you end up making a ton of versions of the song. So I was at that point, I was playing a lot of the versions that came from there. But there was a lot of general versions. I got the liked playlist here, so we'll just play the first song here, and hopefully it's something that I approve. And of course, I made several different versions of this song, but these are the ones that really came out to the point where I could actually do something with it.
okay,
And the song, it's that this song, the idea was, since I do a lot of unboxings, to try and find something that could actually be the background music or the intro to the video. So I made some in this was a duet. The I tried a lot of duets. It was a little bit tough. It's all about the prompt, of course. I've got a country version. Here's a country version right here. And then I tried to do something in the style of ABBA. And different styles. Here's a little music, like a musical number right here.
open the box.
Yeah. So the whole idea is that, it was once again, I was trying to culture for something. And then I started thinking, well, there's like two or three of them that I really like. And why not use two or three? So one video has one of the pieces of music, and the next video has another, and the next video has another. So that's where I was really that's what I showed everybody on there. But oops, hit the button. Don't hit the button. Anyway, so it was a lot of fun, and it's still a lot of fun to try and get some ideas going. I wrote a song. Uh, my wife was in somewhere else, and we were doing text back and forth, and the cat was kind of like lying at the bed, and so I wrote a song about the cat. and I sent it to her, and she really appreciated that. So it was a lot of fun, and of course, it's something that we share between us, and 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 just have a lot of fun with it, I guess. So yeah.
Okay. Are you going to share that with us or
No, no, no. I
no?
don't think
That's
it's. I
for
don't
you
think
and
it's
your
on your
wife.
stuff.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, yeah. So, but anyway,
Okay.
yeah, it comes out from there in many different ways to use AI, and then of course many different platforms to use AI. Suno has some great features. They just added a couple more. One where you can actually clip the music. When it started, it was just basically like you could go up to 2 or 3 minutes, and then you get the AI. You could choose to extend it, and then it would extend it a little bit, and then it would put it all together. Since then, they have this ability to remove the vocals from the music, which does an okay job, but it's like a if you took the lyric or you took the vocals out of a song, any song out there right now. It's a process where they basically the idea is the vocals are usually in the middle, and all the other instruments are on the left or right side. So what they do is they create another track that inverts the bass and the drums. So it basically cancels out everything on the left side, on the right side, and then whatever is in the center is what you hear. They've been doing that, and then you just reverse it for just the audio, but not the lyric or the main vocals. That's what they do a lot in a lot of karaoke situations. So it's the same process. They're doing it digitally in this case, but it's the same idea, and it just doesn't work that well. So um, then I started looking because I wanted to have stems. So then I started looking at this other one called Udio.
So
Now,
what are
Udio
stems? What are stems?
stems. Oh, okay. Stems are where you have each track. So drums are a stem, bass guitar is a stem, main guitar is a stem, vocals is a stem. And I just needed those basic stems. I didn't want to have, the snare drum, the bass drum, the toms all as individual tracks themselves. Just to have the drum track, just to have the bass track. Because then if you took the lyrics out, because it's still AI and it still makes mistakes. You should hear what it says when it tries to pronounce geekazine. Sometimes it gets it right. I'm fairly impressed with it. Don't get me wrong, because this is a word I made up. But sometimes it's geekazine. Sometimes people out there call it geekazine. So it's some people. It's sometimes it's just a bunch of garbledygook because it just doesn't know how to pronounce it.
Okay.
So it'd be nice to have the song and then take out the lyrics or the main vocal track, and then have, put maybe I'd sing it, maybe somebody else would sing it, but sing it correct, and then preserve the backing tracks. So having those stems was very important. That's where something like Udio came in, because I could start creating songs. And they have this ability to take the tracks. I got one right here. Uh, just take that tracks, basic tracks, four things. You got vocals, drums, bass, and others. So I can take the drum track and I can play this like that. And we can have that as a background. But I can hear the drum track, and if I like that, I can put it into a digital audio workstation or DAW, and then once again take out the main vocals so I can sing the vocals to see what I need to change.
Okay.
So and it's a great addition, and Suno's working on probably matching what Udio is doing, because there are other programs out there that do the same thing, like this one right here, which is called BandLab. And with that AI, as you can see, it's got its own little player right here that gives you all the individual tracks for the song that was created. And in this case, I just created just a basic, I don't even know what I put in for the description. And of course, I can take this and I can take the melody out. I could take the chords out. I could take the bass out. There we just have drums. So this is something that's becomes very creative for me. So you may never hear this song out there, but at least it's keeping my creative juices flowing.
And what's the name of that particular software again?
This one's called BandLab.
Band Lab. Okay.
BandLab, yes, correct. And I got one more I'm going to show you. And the reason there's a good reason why I'm showing you this. And this is, if you'll hear this name and you'll go, wait a minute, I know this company from many, many years ago. It's a company called LimeWire.
Mm-hmm.
And if those of you who don't know what LimeWire was, it was a peer-to-peer sharing site. So basically an illegal music download, like Napster and stuff like that. But LimeWire is gotten into this area of music, which is great. But the better thing about this software that they're using, you can actually use yourself, and it's being used. The back end is Meta Music Gen AI. Now, the cool thing about Meta Music Gen AI is you can go over to GitHub, you can download the Git, and you can install this software on your own computer. And then you can have your own computer make the music. You don't have to have an internet connection to do something like this. So, and I
Okay.
was going to show you that, but my main computer decided to not work today. So, it was it, it's something. A lot of AI nowadays has a version that you can actually download and use on your computer if it's got a good graphic card in it and a good processor in it. It might take a little bit longer, but you can then it's on your system. Nobody else has access to it.
Okay. Sounds
So,
good.
like I
So
said,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, really quick. Like I said, I've done a lot of different things with this. One of the things that I'll do is, let's say I got a song, and this is what I really wanted to show you here. I created some lyrics, and then I created just basically a country pop duet song, and it's called, well, in Suno land, it's called You're My Surprise. So what I did was I went over to the create, I did the custom, and then I put in my own lyrics up on top, and then I said in the style of music, country pop, which if I go in here and I could actually recreate it over here. But the whole idea is that I put the set of lyrics in that I wrote. I didn't let AI do that. And then I went back here and it created a few things. I made a couple tweaks to the lyrics, and then it made a couple more. And then, of course, it created the song. What I then did, since Udio is another, not the same AI system, I decided to create the song this same way as best as I could, because it's got a different interface and different options to it, and then see what it would come up with. And it was very interesting. Like, for instance, with Suno, I asked for country pop duet, and I got more male led voices than with
Mm.
Udio, which I got more female led voices when I created the song. So I'm going to play like 15-20 seconds on each song. And this is the last one that I did from here. This is called You're My Surprise. And here's the first one on Suno.
Turn it up just a little bit, Jeffrey.
Sure.
That's what you do to me. Cannot see the way you look in my eyes. That's where the beauty goes from top to bottom. You're my surprise, my surprise, my surprise.
And these are your lyrics?
These are my lyrics. All right, so that was a verse and that was a chorus. So we'll stop that and we'll go over to Udio. And this is the last one that Udio created.
I love your look, I love your style. It's something I haven't seen in a while. You bring the charm into the room, making every single mic drop go boom. That's what you do to me. You cannot see the way you look in my eyes. That's where the beauty goes from top to bottom. You're my surprise.
So as you can see, it very contrasting styles, and like I said, I went down the list, and it was a lot of male-led songs on Suno and a lot of female-led songs. Even though I said, "Hey, I want it as a duet," and I don't think in any of the versions I got a duet out of it, but that's okay. And there are ways that you can kind of cultivate that. There's you have the script that you put in, you have the meta marks that you can also put in as well. Like for instance, when you write lyrics, I'll show you here. When I think let's see, bring this up. There we go. When you write lyrics, you'll see it kind of like this. You'll have a verse one in parentheses and a chorus. These are the meta information that it looks at. So it knows that this is verse one, and so it will try to make verse two match what verse one does. If it sees chorus, it'll try to match the chorus. You still have to put the lyrics in. And the reason why is because sometimes choruses change lyrics. That's a fun thing about some songs is you hear it that second time and go, oh, they said something different that second time around. That's pretty cool. You can put, if you want a solo place somewhere, you can ask it that. It doesn't always choose to put a solo in there. Sometimes they'll take verse two and play it again. It's AI, just like with Midjourney, just like with Chat GPT. There's a little bit of AI creative voice in there, but it'll create a song that once again I can look at, I can listen to, and go, I like that. Going back to the unbox videos, I found that if I put in actual parentheses, these are brackets by the way, but if I put in parentheses rip 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 in Suno, it takes that and understands that a little bit differently. So in a lot of the songs on the unbox, it would have rip 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 instead of just somebody singing rip rip rip, and that's what I really like about it. So I have a little bit of ability to sculpt how the song is going to go.
I have a question regarding this. So this sounds amazing, but the question I have is, you've been trained. You're a musician. You studied music. So what about regular people? You know, will they be able to embrace this, or you have sort of an edge in terms of this? Is this Would this be easy for a non-musician like myself to play with and to be able to create something?
I'm going to answer this with a small little story. I had a friend who one summer he decided to pick up guitar, and by the end of the summer he could play guitar way better than I could ever play guitar. um,
Hmm.
another thing that I remember is actually a line from MASH. It was the storyline was where Winchester was he met a patient that had a problem. He lost his feeling in one of his arms. He's a concert pianist, so he was trying to tell him that you can still be a concert pianist. But towards the end of the show, he goes, you know, I'm a surgeon. My hands can do magic by fixing you up, but when I put my hands on the keyboard, I just can't play the notes, and you can play the notes. And of course, I didn't say it exactly the way he said it, and that's always really made me think about it, because it's like, yeah, there's people out there that can play music way better. They have perfect pitch and all that other stuff way better than I could do, and they could go in life and then all of a sudden run into somebody that's actually better than them. So the answer is, you don't need to be concert trained. You don't need to know what notes are. In fact, they don't give you sheet music here. They don't tell you a G, C, D at all in here. They just say, if you can write a good prompt, just like, and that's what we're learning with AI nowadays, is how to write great prompts to get the results that we want. If you're doing it in Chat GPT to create resumes and documents, if you're doing it in Midjourney to create images, you can do it in Suno and Udio and these others to create great music.
That sounds great. Um, I'm just curious. Have you explored the gospel realm in terms of AI? I might have some listeners that might be curious.
I have created some gospel. It's not that difficult. All you really have to do is in Suno say make a gospel song. And in fact, let's do it right now. So we go over to Suno. We'll go to create,
Okay.
and we'll say this is the Tony Mo. All right, we'll go. This is Conversations with Tony Mobley, and we'll go watch every week. I can type. All right, simple lyrics, nothing fancy here. We'll go style of music, and all we'll say is gospel. And then it gives us some other options. So we could say maybe soul, maybe uplifting. I like that. And we can say drums and guitar. We'll leave that. We'll leave that as it is. We'll enter a title and we'll call it Conversations with Tony Mobley. And then we'll create. What it's doing right now is it's creating 2 versions of the song. A lot of these will do 2 or 4. I think one of them will actually let you choose, but like Udio and Suno both do just 2 different versions because it is doing something in the background. Now we're at a point where we could actually play the first one. So you ready to hear your new gospel song there, Tony?
Sure.
All right, here we go.
This is Conversations with Tony Mobley. Watch every week. This is Conversations with
It just flipped to the next one.
Watch every week.
Okay.
For some reason, it only made 15 seconds of the song.
Okay.
So, but you get the idea. So,
Yes.
and you heard the second one. The second one really didn't sound as much gospel. Kind of the first one did too, but you could really add to it. Like for instance, I could say uplifting, and I could say a cappella, and I could say group sing along. Oops. And a lot more. And then I could come up here and I could say boom like that and go verse. And then we could go. Now it knows that it's got a verse and it's got a chorus. Oops. And we'll say conversations all the day. Conversations with Tony. And then I could do it. Let's say solo. And then sing along. Sometimes this will work when you throw in odd words. And then we'll hit create again really quick. And now we've kind of added more to it. So we'll probably get more than 15 seconds. Hopefully not 30 seconds, but you get the idea.
Okay.
And then we could play the first one.
This is Conversations with Tony Mobley. Watch every week. Conversations all the day. Conversations with Tony. Coming.
So you get the idea. And if I did that, if I took it over to Udio, we'd have a little bit different sound, a little bit different ideas. And it looks like it's going to go more than 30 seconds, and that's great. So it's really not that difficult to do. And there are some out there that you try and do. There was one that I was playing with that I put in all the prompts and things like that. And it just sounded like a garbled mess. It was just like AI decided to not even think about what you wanted. And just there were notes that were all over the place. And it made me as a trained musician kind of cringe to it. And probably a regular anybody that listened to a lot of music would probably go, this doesn't sound like a song at all. So there's a lot of good and bad to AI music out there.
Is there any music that is particularly beneficial or you would use for mobile, or does it all need to be on a computer?
I'm not understanding what you're
You know,
asking.
are there any apps of music AI creation that work
Oh,
well on a mobile, or
well,
should you
Suno,
just try to do it on a computer?
uh, all of these Suno and Udio are web based, so you can do them on a mobile browser. Suno does have an app that you can use, and then I was driving back from Chicago a few weeks ago after a gig, and I just basically called up the Suno app and started listening to all the songs that I created, because now it becomes, I don't know if you've ever heard this saying about photos. It's like, you remember when we took a photo and then you had to, the anticipation of the development, and then when you got it, you had to show everybody. So you had all these parties and everybody got to see the photos
Mm-hmm.
several times. Now we take a picture and we just kind of forget it for the next picture. And the chances of us seeing that picture that we just took once again are a lot less than years past. The same thing happens with music. I could write 100 songs within the next day and then never listen to a single one of them again, because we're at this point where it's like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next picture? What's the next document I need to write? And we rarely go back to the stuff that we've got. But now that where you have one photo that everybody needs to look at, we've got a million photos that nobody has time to look at.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
You feel free to email me or send the Conversation with Tony Mobley song.
Oh, and you do have a couple. I did make you a couple songs. I don't know. Have you played them on the show?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So if I go in here and we go to library, see if I can find them. Right
That's
here.
great.
There we are. So
Okay.
this is Conversations with Tony Mobley. This is background music. So it's meant for Tony to say, "Welcome to Conversations with Tony Mobley. My name is Tony Mobley. Today we've got a great guest on today, Jeffrey Powers. That's going to be talking about AI music." This one's a little bit slow, so we'll go to the other one. I think that was a little slow too. And I made a couple more. There we go. This is the one I really wanted to show you. So, welcome to Conversations with Tony Mobley. My name is Tony Mobley. We've got a great guest today in Jeffrey Powers that's talking about AI music creation.
Welcome to Conversations with Tony Mobley. Thank you, courtesy of Jeffrey Powers, AI Music. Absolutely great. Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Okay. Um, I'm going to ask my team to reach out and see if there are any questions from YouTube
Okay.
while we wait for the next question.
You want me to continue to play this music?
Yes, yes. Let's do that.
We'll do the other one. I think this other one's pretty good too. Yeah, I do like this one.
Okay, we have a question from Laura Thompson.
Oh, hey,
And her
Laura.
question is, Jeffrey, what is your opinion barrier to entry? I use Suno in an extremely stressful situation to the point to calm down, and with a simple text prompt, positive or negative, for your average user.
So she's asking whether it's I'm not sure the question here. If you're just putting in a simple prompt might not get what you're looking for, but it can all of a sudden become a challenge to figure out what to say and add to it, and then see how a song will progress from when you started this. Like I said, the Unbox Me song, I think I did about 30, 40 versions before I started getting stuff that I really liked. And I tweaked some of the lyrics, and the rip, 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 if I started putting them in parentheses, that's when it really started to pop out. And so yeah, it's kind of like, you have to find the puzzle piece, the missing puzzle piece, so you can finish the puzzle type thing. So takes your brain off of it for sure. And yeah, you can definitely go down a rabbit hole with it.
Yes, I see how this could be very addictive.
Hmm. And
So
for,
we have,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was gonna say, if you're looking to do like production, we'll just stop that. If you're looking to do like production, something like this is great for, like I said, a podcaster or a YouTuber or anything like that. Uh, Once you get into in the freemium models, if you're not paying for Suno or Udio, technically you're not supposed to use them in the podcasts. It's only when you start doing the plan. And I think both of them are like $10 a month. So it's really not that much to create a whole bunch of music that you can use at any time, and then put it into your YouTubes, put it into your podcasts. I Yeah, it can, if somebody's actually doing this professionally, they could actually be doing that, so they can create more music. So they could, if you're looking for something for your show, here, I got a catalog here. It's only going to cost you this a month to use it.
Okay, okay. Uh, we're going to shift gears just a little bit. What is your opinion of AI and technology for video production?
The one thing I haven't talked about with audio, and this goes the same aspect with video, is that AI really has been in our production, whether it be audio or video, for a lot longer than you might think. Um, I've got I got a program, and back to audio, I got a program called Band in a Box that technically isn't AI. It's not writing every single note, but what they did was they created bits and pieces, and then you can kind of direct where it's going. So you could say, okay, in this case, you'll need to know some chord structure, but yeah, if I want to write a country western song in the key of C, I can do that there, and then it kind of uses the computer to go from there. In video production, AI, like the camera that I'm looking at right now, has AI abilities. So if I turn it on, it'll start following me around the room. And I've used that in actual productions. When you become a one-person video show, you rely on some of those things, not too much, because yeah, they can go off the rails really easily. But with other things, with things like digital compression and anything like that, it's the basics of AI that are running on these devices that we've been bringing into audio and video production for years.
Right. Very cool. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I'm really appreciating the music. And as you said, it took you several different prompts and
Oh yeah.
much for that.
Sometimes it just takes the one thing where you say it the right way, and you've got something that's exactly what you're looking for, and then you don't touch it. And then again, you go over to like Udio, and then you say, hey, I want them in the stems, in the separate tracks, because I like the song, but I just don't like the vocals. I want to take those vocals out, and boom. Then you got a song that you love. So, and then sometimes it takes a little bit of tweaking. They'll start singing a song. Like, for instance, when you heard Conversations with Tony Mobley, you heard that they were really doing a good job with Mobley there. So that's where you try to kind of phonetically start interjecting, so they do start saying Mobley correctly, so you get something that's one shot and sounds really good. So once again, that's a rabbit hole thing. So
Well, it was okay, Jeffrey, because my father and his brother, they they pronounce it both differently. So my, my father would say Mobley, and my uncle would say Mobley. So
Yeah.
you
Hey,
know,
yeah,
it's
and you have, yeah, yeah, definitely have the area accents. I'm from Wisconsin, type thing, and you're from Georgia, or Georgia. So it really depends on how people speak, and yeah, that definitely comes into play. But then there's times where you hear and you go, oh yeah, that sounds AI. That's definitely AI, and that's what I'm trying to avoid in some of the songs that I write.
well. Thank you so much for sharing that, and we're going to go on. We have a few more questions that we're going to try to get to before
Okay.
we end the show today. And so
Yeah.
let's see. Our next question is. Um, Are there any other projects that you're working on that you can talk about in terms of your music creation?
In terms of music creation,
Hmm.
not really. This is kind of the side project. I play in a band, and a band called Trailer Kings, and I also do solo acoustic. Um, yeah, solo acoustic show. So bringing some of the stuff in is yeah, and I am thinking about trying to create a song starting with the AI aspect of things. But for the most part, I Geekazine takes a lot of my time, and I also have another thing called Build Day Live, which is more enterprise tech driven. We just did what's called a bake off, which basically we pitted two brands against each other, and to see which one worked a little bit better. So I've been doing a lot of that in the last few months. So music, in this case, unless I'm actually playing a gig, music is kind of the side hobby.
Okay, let's talk about Geekazine. So,
Okay.
how did you come up with it, and what are some of the things that you have done, and
Oof.
was the unboxing a part of Geekazine, or was that something separate?
No, no, no. Geekazine was a podcast. Started as an audio podcast, and it, like I said, back in 2007, it was meant for tech. The reason why it didn't have a name at the beginning was because I was planning to actually call it something else, and then after doing some research, the name, which I can't remember anymore, that I really wanted was already being used. And
Okay.
so I was going through a lot of different things. And then I went to a website. You remember the websites that were the Izine, Izine,
Mm-hmm.
or Ezine, not Izine, but Ezines. And they were popular back then. I was just like, I hate that word. It's got to be a zine, like magazine, like geekazine, like, and I was like, oh yeah, like Geekazine. And then that's when that all started. It was podcast, and then of course I followed the whole saying: if you're doing podcasts, you're doing video. If you're doing video, you're doing blogging. If you're doing blogging, you're doing podcasts. So I just kind of incorporated that all in on the three. So the only audio podcast I do right now is a podcast called Day in Tech History, which basically runs down tech history on a daily basis. And you can find that at dayintechhistory.com.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing
You're
that.
welcome.
And let's talk about office hours. So, how did you get involved in office hours?
Well, office hours it was the convenience for me and everybody because, once again, COVID hit. We were all trying to figure out something to do. We were trying to figure out this whole Zoom thing. We're trying to figure out how we can continue to work without being able to connect with people. So, I my my first time on office hours, excuse me, my first time on office hours, I read, I think it was Shannon Morse. I can't remember exactly whose Facebook post it was that basically said, "Hey, there's an office hours things going on, so and you can join." So I joined it, and I liked it, so I stayed. And then I stayed some more, and then I stayed some more, and then I stayed some more. And then I started joining. One day I told Alex, I said, "Hey, if you want me to take care of the YouTube page, I know a little bit about YouTube, so I can help you out there." And then I became part of the team, one of the early parts people on the team. And then, of course, office hours became something more than just opening up a Zoom call and having people raise their hands to answer questions.
And I want to say again, thank you so much for creating the brand channel for YouTube for Conversation with Tony Mobley.
Oh
We
yeah,
wouldn't have a we wouldn't have a brand channel if it wasn't for you. So thank you so
yeah.
much. And
Well, I'm glad
because
you're
you
still
helped
doing this. Yeah,
me, I was able to create a brand channel for Miracle Bible Way Church of Christ in Macon,
well, that's
Georgia.
great. That's
So
great.
they have a brand channel, and
That's
so
awesome.
that's all thanks to you. So I want to say thank you again. Um, the next question is what should we all know about AI music creation?
Um, I think it's the same thing that when I got into 3D printing, if you treat it like a profession, it's going to drive you crazy. If you treat it like a hobby, you're never going to be disappointed.
That's very cool. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go to the last question, but we want you to play us out with some music
Okay.
as we close. So the last question is, um, what's next for Jeffrey Powers?
What's next? I think, geez, I don't know. It's, hold on one second here. It's, I really don't know. I mean, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing until somebody says you can't do it anymore. I've got products here in the shop. As some of you might have known, I actually moved. So I had to rebuild a studio, which is always a daunting task. And, with the computer that just died, that was the heart of the whole system. That adds a little bit more to it. So I have a lot of work to do on that aspect. But you got products to do, you got ideas to come. And yeah, I've been doing Geekazine for so long. I think to myself, when I'm not at like a CES or a NAB or anything like that, getting in front of people and doing the interviews, how do I keep myself motivated? Because I end up being a person sitting in his basement. Uh, in this case, I could be up in a bedroom if I wanted to, but sitting in a basement creating a video, and if that's not this is technically not the direction that I was planning to go, but it's still a direction that I do go. And not that I'm upset about that. It's just more the fact that that's how the waves took me. And but I still want to get back out there to events, uh, things like Adobe Max, which is happening next week. I'd love to be out there. I'm definitely going to be at CES this year. It takes money to do that, so that's always a problem. It takes a little bit more when you're a one person job or one person creation. It takes a little bit longer to create everything. So I've been putting some thought into what happens if I can bring somebody out there, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I got to find sponsors now so they can cover the costs, so I can get people on planes, so I can get people in hotel rooms, and it's not impossible, but that's where I'm going. And so in all reality, my mind's just a mess.
Well, we had a great time tonight. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All
It's
right,
good seeing you again.
we're ready for the closing music.
Okay. This is called the
Conversation with.
last.
Go ahead.
This is called the last tune.
All right, thank you, sir. Conversation with Tony Mobley is produced by valued audiovisual professionals who meet daily on Office Hours Global, hosted by Alex Lindsay. Thank you, Mimo Live and YouTube. Conversations with real people. Stay tuned for new episodes and great conversations on Conversation with Tony Mobley. We ask you to look back at our 100 plus conversations and see if there's something that you like that might be beneficial to you. Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey Powers, for being a part of our conversation today and for doing the work you do and doing and being the person who you are. Conversation with Tony Mobley series will return next week, October 9th, 2024, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with Miss Emily Russo, educator and instructional technologist. We want to thank you all so much for being here. We will be back next week. Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey Powers, again. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
Echoes fade into the past. Memories forever last. Verse by verse we say farewell. In this music we will dwell. Every chord it feels so right. Underneath the moon's soft light. Together we'll remember when we played our song again and again. It's the